Girlfriend caught cheating at her friend's wedding. So I, 31, met my girlfriend, Karen, 29, 5 years ago after she left her abusive boyfriend and moved back in with her parents and her small child. She dropped out of college when he got her pregnant her senior year, and he cheated and was physically abusive until she finally left him. We got introduced by one of her sorority sisters, Angie, who married a friend of mine, Dave. We connected and dated for a few months, and she and her son, Bobby, ended up moving in with me. The first few years were great. I got her to go back and finish her degree, and my dad got her a job where he works. About a year and a half ago, Karen reunited with some of her sorority sisters, and they started having a girls' night out every other Saturday, and she was also having drinks after work with some of her coworkers occasionally, and when I said something about it she got defensive and we started arguing about it. Angie told her husband Dave that Karen was flirting a lot when they were out, to the point it started to bother her, and Dave gave me a heads up about it. So on one of their girls' night I showed up at the bar and saw her flirting and letting a guy put his hands on her. I walked up and asked the guy to take his hand off my girlfriend and told Karen it was time to leave. It was an ugly drive home and we fought, and she ended up sleeping on the couch. The next morning she apologized and said had a little too much to drink and got carried away. I said that wasn't good enough, and if we were going to stay together we were going to have to go to counseling together and work through this. Obviously the girls' night out was over for a while and we made progress and things got better. 2 months ago, I could tell she was starting to act sketchy, being over paranoid with her phone and leaving the room when she would use it. I tried to talk with her, but she was just evasive and denied anything was wrong. I talked with Angie and Dave about my suspicions, and Angie finally said that Karen had been talking with an old boyfriend from college and they had been flirting. When Angie called her out on it, Karen stated if she could keep both of them happy, and I didn't find out then what was the harm. She said I was a great provider and great with Bobby, and she didn't want to lose that, but she needed more. Needless to say, that was devastating, but according to Angie the old boyfriend lived in Houston, so there was no way they had anything physical, just long-distance flirting. One of Karen's sorority sisters asked her to be a bridesmaid at her wedding, and we made plans to go, but Bobby developed an air condition and was supposed to have tubes installed, and so he could fly there with us, and I volunteered to stay with him while she went. It was a 3-day event with rehearsal, dinner, bachelorette party, shower, and the event day itself. After the rehearsal dinner, Dave called and said Karen's old boyfriend had showed up, and the two we hanging out, and being very indiscreet, he sent me a couple of photos including a short video of them making out at the hotel. I called Karen's father and asked if he could watch Bobby so I could drive down for the wedding, and I dropped Bobby off on the way out of town. It was a very long 6-hour drive, and I finally got there late that evening. I got to her room and could hear laughing inside, and I knocked on the door. After the third knock, Karen opened the door in her robe and I walked in to find a guy naked in her bed. I introduced myself and advised him he should leave quickly. I turned and saw that Karen was undressed under the robe and asked her to explain herself. She got mad and then made excuses and then accusations. I finally said enough. I told her we were through. I said I was leaving, and if she decided to come back she could get her things and get out of my like. As I walked back into the hall there were a dozen or so people there, including Angie. We had never closed the door to the room, and as loud as we got, I'm sure we put on a pretty good show. I drove back and got home about the time the sun came up and crashed hard. The next morning I started boxing up all her clothes, but when I came to her lingerie drawer with all the sexy stuff we had bought, I threw all that into a different box along with her party and clubwear and sent it off to Goodwill. A couple of days later, when her flight got back, she called me from the airport, but her number was still blocked, so she had to Uber home. When she walked in, there were over a dozen boxes sitting in the living room with all of her and Bobby's stuff ready to go. I told her Bobby was at her parents' house and she could call her dad and have him help haul the rest of her stuff to his house or wherever she planned on staying. She tried to talk her way out of it, but I wasn't listening to her stories. She tried to load her suitcases in the car, but her key fob wouldn't work. I told her both cars were in my name, and if she tried to take one of them I would report it as stolen. Her dad finally showed up and I gave him the short story on why we were breaking up. He didn't say a lot, but we shook hands before he left. All that was a week ago. Dave and Angie have cut contact with Karen. Evidently our drama spilled over the next day at the ceremony and overshadowed the wedding. Karen reached out and we talked a couple of times, but I said there was no way back for us. Even so, she refuses to give up on us. Right now I just have this hollow feeling inside. I eat, go to work, and come home and try to sleep. I'm not mad anymore, just numb, maybe a little sad and confused on what to do next. Sorry for the long post, talking about it out loud is so hard and it felt good to let it all out. Edit, for clarification. The guy at the wedding was not her ex/Bobby's dad, just a guy she dated in college. She was actually in a very physically abusive relationship with Bobby's dad that included a couple of ER visits. The last one, Angie, was the one that drove her to the hospital. So that was nor hearsay, the cheating I have no proof, nor does Angie, just Karen's story. Update. Dad texted me this morning and said Karen got let go this morning. She took it like a true diva. They had a security guard watch her pack her personal things and walked her out the door. Eventually, I'm sure the blame will be mine. Wednesday, I finally got all her stuff out of the house and blocked her on everything. I got a letter in the mail Thursday, 2 pages of how she made a terrible mistake and she just thought she needed to get some stuff out of her system so she could fully devote herself to me. A lot of pleading and promises. I got an email from the maid of honor thanking me for our gift and her condolences after the incident at the hotel. The AP had a girlfriend who was not at any of the pre-event functions but flew in for the ceremony and heard the stories of the days leading up to the wedding. She was expecting to attend the wedding with the AP, but he was a no-show. After talking with Karen's dad again, we both came to the conclusion that it was better if I just stepped out of Bobby's life. That way Karen couldn't use him as a pawn and really mess with his head, and Bobby could move on and adjust to his new norm. Her dad asked me some pretty direct questions and wanted details I would have preferred to leave out. He was both sad and angry. I think that the special daddy-daughter bond took some major damage. I had one of Karen's sorority sisters reach out to me and we had dinner. She said with what I did for her I deserve so much better. She went on about how Karen embarrassed herself and how none of them wanted anything to do with her now. The rest of the dinner was about me and how I was feeling. What was I doing to get past this and move on? By dessert, it had moved to if I needed to talk, grab a drink, or maybe a movie to give her a call. I have rearranged all my rooms and threw out some decorative stuff and replaced it with something different. I also replaced most of the lighting with remote LEDs and added some colored backlighting. So the house has a different feel and look to it now. The next plan is to repaint Bobby's room and make a guest room out of it. I upgraded gyms and signed up for some personal training, and I have a cute trainer that I think is trying to kill me. Just trying to fill my time so I don't sit and think too much and fall back into the rabbit hole. Going out tonight to our favorite watering hole and hanging out with some friends.
You're moving through this very well. I'm really impressed about how you are turning chicken shit into chicken salad here. UGF destroyed her own life. She needs to drop this, the notebook, act and recognize that she blew it and it's over. I'm sure it's too soon for you, but it's also pretty clear that you have at least one admirer here. The sorority sister you met up with looks like she's feeling out where you are before making her move. You don't have to act on it, but it must at least make you feel a little better to have her attention and support. But I think she may have had an eye on you while you were with your SDBX, and this whole experience triggered her to hop into the queue, so to speak. I feel terrible for Bobby, as this is effectively the second father he's lost, but it sounds like your SDBX's dad will be ready and able to explain to him why you left one day. Hopefully his grandpa can step in and be the father figure he needs growing up. Keep improving yourself, dude. I hope we get an update in a year or two, saying you met a wonderful woman and got your mojo back. You've got this.
Story 2. Found out husband cheated 10 years ago. What am I supposed to do with this information now? We have built a whole life since then. We've been married for 21 years. Bought a cottage together and just bought a beautiful home this month. Our son and his girlfriend just welcomed out first grandchild today. I had my suspicions back when it happened. They were good friends and then suddenly stopped talking, and I found out that he had blocked her number and blocked her on social media. I knew, but I kept bringing it up and he kept denying, and I guess I just kept my blinders on. 2 days ago we were having an argument and he confessed to having sex with her, but realizing it was wrong and then cutting off contact. He spent the entire day begging my forgiveness and pleading with me not to leave. He gave me details when I, stupidly, asked for them. Later that evening he retracted his story, now claiming that there was kissing and touching, but when it came down to do the dirty he backed off and said no. This was at a family cottage with my kids in the next room. He claimed she was gone when he woke up the next morning. I can't believe a word he says at this point, and I don't know how I'll ever get past this. What hurts the most is we built this whole life. It's been a decade. But I feel like he took my choices away. He bought this home with me knowing what he did. He continued to have sex with me knowing that he'd been with her. He took away my choice to not be touched by him under those circumstances. I behaved pretty badly when it came out, and I told his whole family. I think I did it because I wanted to hold myself accountable to leaving him, like if no one knew it would be easier to throw under the rug, but if I tell people I will have to follow through. Now I'm just embarrassed. Is there a way to get past this? Am I ever going to feel okay? Is it possible to stay together? How will I know if I want to? I'm totally broken. Update: I think he's still lying. D-Day was only 4 days ago, but the incident was 10 years ago. I feel sick when I think about staying with him, but I feel sick when I think about leaving. I know deep down that I want to work it out, and I believe he does too. But I don't think I've gotten to the bottom of the truth. When he first admitted it, I've had my suspicions the whole time, but he kept denying and I just put my blinders on. He admitted to sexual intercourse with his AP on one occasion. That began the worst day of my life, with me pressing for details and him providing them, including answering questions about the use of condoms. After hours of this, with him crying and me crying and him begging me to forgive him, he changed his story. He began to claim that he admitted to the sex because it was what I wanted to hear and the only thing I would believe. He now states that there was kissing and fondling, but that when his AP went to remove his pants he stopped it. He does acknowledge that this new version of what happened is still totally inappropriate. I just want the truth and I don't know what to believe. I even reached out to his AP, but she ignored my message, and I don't blame her. How could anyone admit to having sex with an AP and then turn around and say they didn't? Who in their right mind would believe it? Now, when I tell him that I can't stay with him unless I have full disclosure, he says that he's told me the truth and doesn't know what else to say. He tells me that if I need him to tell me they had sex, then he will. Update 2. I'm back at the beginning. My cheating dirtbag husband changed his story again last night. First story: sex happened. Second story: sex didn't happen, there was kissing and touching, but he stopped it. New story: sex happened, but he didn't finish. My heart is torn out every time. I was going to reconcile. Even posted in the other sub for that. But I knew that I couldn't move forward without the truth. And so I asked him if he would take a polygraph. After a bit of gaslighting, asking what would be the point, why stay together if I'm never going to trust him, etc. I told him that if the polygraph reveals that he is being truthful, then I will stop bringing it up and I will begin the moving forward process. And then BAM hits me with the okay, yes, we had sex. I couldn't stand to see you in so much pain, and that's why I retracted my story. And here's the thing. It wasn't because he understood my need for honesty and full disclosure. That's not why he came clean, again. He admitted to more because he knew he would fail a polygraph. That isn't remorse, folks. He was going to wait, hope that I never found out the full truth. And now I want to know, How much more is there? Am I ever getting the truth out of him? I've asked him to seek counseling to assist with writing out the disclosure, which he agreed to do, but with all the lying, how can I trust it? I hate this feeling. I hate the feeling like I'm choking that I get when I look at our kids and think about ripping their lives apart with a divorce. I don't want them to endure the pain that I'm enduring because what I thought was my entire world wasn't. Update 3. He is doing everything right, so why am I still so unsure? D-Day was 9 days ago, about an affair that he had with a co-worker and friend which occurred 10 years ago. He claims it was a flirtation that he didn't really recognize as flirtation that led to a one-time sexual encounter, after which he immediately cut off contact and buried. There were several problems with the initial disclosure. He admitted to having sex with her one time and then retracted his story and claimed that there was kissing and touching, but he stopped it before it got to sex. He held firm on that for a couple of days until he realized that I was serious about making him take a polygraph, and he then admitted that he had intercourse with his AP. There are some other things that have come up. The main one for me right now being the condom use. He is firm on the fact that a condom was used. However, in his explanation he said that he was caught up in the moment and it just happened. I told him that didn't jive with the condom story. That takes planning. Someone has to get it, open it, etc. He then admitted that he knew what he was doing was wrong when it got to the condom, but that he continued. Now, my issue is, why was the condom there in the first place? We didn't use them, and he was at a family cottage with our kids. Why would there be a condom? His claim is that she had them, but he still swears it wasn't planned, that he just invited her up to hang out with no intention of sleeping with her. I'm not sure if I believe him on this. I get that a lot of people say the details don't matter, but they matter to me. I feel like I need full disclosure in order to possibly move forward. I need to know what happened in order to heal from it. It matters if it was only once or if it was ongoing. I'm still unsure. Since then he has been an exceptional spouse. He has expressed remorse and shame at his behavior. He says that he will never forgive himself for hurting me and he will spend the rest of his life trying to make it up to me. I told him this feels like a trick and he can't possibly keep love bombing me like he is forever, but he swears that he now realizes that he took me and our life together for granted and he never wants to do that again. He has taken over a lot of the mundane daily tasks that I just can't bring myself to do right now, and he says that he will do whatever it takes for as long as it takes to help me through this. He is willing to do whatever I ask, IC and MC, he will take the polygraph if I need it, he will take time away from work, whatever I need him to do. From everything that I have read, and oh boy I have been reading a lot, this seems like he is committed to reconciliation, and his genuine, I do feel it is genuine, remorse and desire to rebuild the marriage makes him a good candidate for reconciliation. So why isn't that enough for me? I'm still unsure about what I want and I am unable to think about or plan for the future. I don't want to be that woman, the one who was cheated on and stays. I feel humiliated when I think of myself that way because I swore I never would. I still don't feel like I can trust him, and I can't stop thinking about the fact that if I find out there was more to this one time, or that there have been other times, I will feel so much more betrayed. It makes so much sense for us to stay together, we have built up a whole life since the occurrence, we have children and a grandchild who live with and depend on us, he is doing the right things in terms of his desire to rebuild the marriage, so why can't I make up my mind to stay or go? I don't want to drag this on forever, I feel like it's not fair to him or to our family to let it go on if it will ultimately end in divorce. Update 4, you were right. There was more to the story and it was so much worse. It wasn't a one-time encounter, it was a full-blown affair. I can't believe how stupid I was. Every day of my life is agony at this point. I just want it over, but there is so much life to untangle. He is refusing to let me go, so I can't even imagine how hard this is going to be. Update 5. Hockey sticks and heartbreak. I'm sitting here in my garage, and I can't stop staring at my 15-year-old son's hockey sticks and his road hockey net that he loves. Him and my play street hockey almost every day, and my heart is shattering thinking about destroying my son's world the way that mine has been. I am so fucking mad that my did this to us. It is so unfair that my son has to pack up his hockey sticks and his net and move them to who knows where, that he won't have his dad every day to play with. And I didn't do this. did this, so why is this, along with everything else, my burden to bear? My kids were so happy. I was so happy. Why did he do this? Why does our home have to be broken? I find myself sobbing at stupid shit like hockey sticks, or my daughter's bedroom that she spent hours decorating with pictures and fairy lights. Our kids had a happy and secure life, and it is being ripped away, and that hurts so goddamn much. That's it, I guess. I just can't stop crying. Update 6. He tried to show me a nice day and I just couldn't. Only a few weeks out since D-Day, and is really trying. I'm so conflicted, don't know whether to stay or go. You can read my post history, it's all there, and it's obvious how up and down and all over the place I've been. One thing that I am sure of is that he wants us to work. We have taken a few days off work to try and get through this initial part, and today he wanted to take me out to a garden center and get ice cream. We can't do much else in Ontario with the restrictions. We went to the next town over, purchased some plants and a fire pit for our home that we just moved into 2 weeks before D-Day. We sat on a bench to watch the lift locks, and I tried to choke down an ice cream cone, and everything just felt so wrong. It felt wrong. That's the best way that I can describe it, and I just wanted to get out of there, but I knew that was trying to do something nice and trying to give us a few hours of normal. Is it just too soon? I've just been thinking all day that the way I feel is an indication that we can't that I can't get past this. Update 7. I don't think this is going to work. I was honestly so hopeful because I believed that my was doing this right. Started I see, he is doing the reading, etc. After some trickle truth, he sat me down and told me that he wanted to be honest because that's what I deserved, and told me what I thought was the full truth. Only now I keep catching him in lies. As we all know here, something like this is a lot to process. It's on my mind constantly, and then I end up thinking about something he said or the way he answered a question that I asked that just doesn't sit right. It doesn't make sense, or it doesn't add up. A quick example. He told me that him and the OW left work one night on break and went to grab coffee. He said that he got into the passenger side with the coffees, and suddenly she climbed on top of him, and it went from there. So I start thinking, you're sitting at a coffee place, in full view of everyone, in your work uniforms while you're both married and she is married to a cop, having sex in the car after she somehow managed to wrangle herself over the console and remove both your clothing and hers, all while you were holding 2 steaming hot coffees? Doesn't add up, bud. So then it changes to his claim that they were parked at the back of the lot away from other cars. Well, why? Why would you park there if you just went in to get coffee? Which he then admits that the plan was to sit in the back of her van and watch movies on their break. Bull. Shit. He keeps sticking to his story that he was just innocently going for coffee, and then I realize he is making the OW out to be some kind of sexual predator. He told me that there were several advances she made in which he pushed her away prior to that event. Then why the hell were you going to park with her and watch movies in the back of the van? If some man had made advances towards me, I certainly wouldn't be going to park in a secluded area with him. This is just one example, and there are so many others. His claims that he can't remember what they talked about and that they didn't spend that much time together, but then he admits that he was asked by several other coworkers if there was something going on between them. His claim that he can't recall the timeline when I asked him if they had slept together before or after he brought her to my best friend's wedding. His claim that he totally ghosted her in the summer, however my best friend got married in October. This explains why he keeps saying things like, "Can't we get past this?" He wants me to STFU and stop piecing things together because he doesn't want to accept responsibility for his actions. He doesn't want to face the consequences that he accepted, and I think that might be a deal breaker for me. Update 8. I ended it. He is currently vomiting his brains out in the bathroom, but as soon as he's done he's out the door. My post history says it all, but I'm still catching him in lie after lie and he refuses to accept responsibility. I'm so done being manipulated. Update 9. Absolutely insane behavior from my WS. Separated but living in the same home, him down, me up. I've retained a lawyer and due to the laws in this province I can't make him leave. We have 5 older children and a newborn grandchild in the house. We have a rescue dog that is not transported easily and I won't leave my kids or my dog behind, and besides that I have nowhere to go. He just won't stop. Drank too much tonight and carried on like a maniac, screaming and crying and smashing things and writhing on the floor. This is a daily occurrence with some kind of drama with him that ends up with me having to take care of him and settle him down. I feel like I'm living in some kind of clown shoe fucking nightmare and I can't do this anymore. He has literally lost his mind. This kind of behavior is just insane to me. I feel like I'm in the middle of the most ridiculous reality show ever made. I can't go on being the person who holds it all together for our family when he is the one who had the A and he is the one who still continues to lie about it. I tried reconciliation. All I asked for was honesty and I couldn't get it. I ended things because of his lies and now he screams and cries and says he is nothing without me. What do I even do with this? OMG, my life is a total nightmare at this point. I can't move out unless I leave kids and dogs behind, which I won't do. He is the one who makes the money, I'm the one who supported his career, while he cheated. I need the house sold and assets divided to make my start.